I've been an environmentalist all along. I mean, even as a kid, I don't think we had that term around when I was a kid, but I was a naturalist. I wanted nothing more than to be down in the stream catching frogs, and and if I saw a bird go by, that was great, but I didn't start really paying attention to birds per se until probably my 40s. And that really has been kind of the delight of my life. I wanted to share my delight at urban wildlife.
More than 200 species of birds are seen every year in Central Park, roughly a quarter of all the bird species found in the United States and Canada.
So it's a film both about how the park serves as a refuge for the birds, but it's also about the people, though.
The main question people ask me is why birds? And I guess they're so alive and active and beautiful and varied, and makes you feel kind of protective, I guess, of the bird.
It's also very much about the kind of almost spiritual release that comes from seeing nature right in your midst.
It's a joy to watch the light go on in somebody's eyes when they see a bird and know what they're looking at.
Yes.
That's what I love about the community, is the sharing.
Hey Elise, it's 8:30 in the morning. I know you're on your way to the park to see the hooded, but there's a faunatory at the tip of the point. So come and take a look. He's gorgeous.
There was the famous Kirtland's warbler came through the park. People would run in from work. They didn't have their binoculars. Somebody would hand them the binoculars. I've been on the board of New York City Audubon for over 10 years now. I was president for 4 years. It's really kind of a wonderful group. They're putting in hard work. Every time I come into this office, I'm like happy to see friends. We are sort of the voice of birds in New York City. The New York Times calls when they have a bird question. They call New York City Audubon. I'm most proud of, during my term as president and even my term on the board, is the health of the organization. We had a wonderful executive director who brought us through COVID, and Catherine Heinz, and now we have another wonderful executive director. And the fact that the organization is firmly on its feet, we have a fairly robust staff now and very defined jobs. We get things done.
Jeff's greatest accomplishment as the president of the organization was leading it on a path to stability. That stability helped us survive the pandemic intact. He set us on the course for the future. Jeff reinvigorated the board.
He helped get everybody involved and everybody contributing and everybody feeling positive and that they were making a contribution. He won't tell you what a great leader he was. We have to do it for him.
I wouldn't be on the board of New York City Audubon if it weren't for Jeff, because he literally is the guy who said, you must do this. Jeff is always looking for a way to extend the reach of the board to places, people, areas that it hasn't been before.
The organization is more diverse, and I think we're reaching a more diverse audience.
In my 2 years at New York City Audubon, Jeff's institutional knowledge has been a real resource. Jeff's commitment to New York City Audubon has been extraordinary. In his many years on the board, the time he's given, the passion, his expertise and leadership has laid a foundation that will build New York City Audubon's success.
I'd say the single most rewarding thing that happened during my tenure was the legislation we got changed about the bird-safe glass. We've gotten laws changed, and we're in the process of getting more laws changed, and that's amazing. The one thing that I particularly championed was us getting into green roofs.
His interest and his energy for building green infrastructure in this city will be incredibly impactful for birds, for wildlife, for all of New York.
When I set out to make the film, I very much wanted it to be a film for everyone, not a film for birders. So I hope that it continues to hold up and it continues to invite people into the world of birding and into the appreciation of nature in the middle of the city. And when you care about birds, you care about what happens to birds, and that brings you into a wider perspective, a wider understanding of what's going on in the natural world and climate change and resilience and all of that. Climate change is about the next generations, and I used to talk about it endlessly in front of my two boys. One of my sons is now a climate change journalist. I recently spent the weekend with my three granddaughters in the country, And it was so much fun to see them respond to all the birds that are at the bird feeder, or just even the flowers and the plants and the nature. For that future, we all have to support environmental organizations, listen to them, vote for the right candidates who understand that climate change is very real. It's definitely kind of a driver for my continued efforts.